Hello, this is Margaret Ajibode, the STEM Positive Disruptor, and I have on my platform today a special guest, Adriana Thomé, and she's from Brazil. She's a senior technologist at the International Affairs Office, and she'll tell us more about that. The reason why we've set up this platform is we want to educate, we want to raise awareness, we want to change people's perception and demystify what STEM is. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We want to bring the public into our domain. We want to show the diverse roles within our environment, but also we want to make it more diverse, inclusive, and accessible for everyone, because there should not be any limits or should be no constraints really in an ideal world. And so we want to showcase different people from different parts of the world and what they're doing. And again, for us to infuse our young people, but also people from different backgrounds who may think this is not for them, or they don't think they have that opportunity to work in this environment. So without further ado, I welcome you, Adriana. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Um, First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to begin making a disclaimer saying that I'm here by myself with my thoughts. I'm not representing any institutions that I'm linked to, as if it's a work or a study or anything. Okay. So my name is Adriana. As you said, I'm from Brazil. Um, I work for the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation in Brazil. Um, Nowadays, I work at the International Cooperation Office at the Multilateral Cooperation, but I'm from the technical area in computer science, and also I have a background in international relations as well. So that is the basics for us.
I know that, and I was really impressed because you also talked about the international relations because you actually came to the UK to study that. So I'm quite impressed with that. But let's just go back to because you've achieved quite a lot. You've got your master's, your PhD. Of course, you're highly educated, and I applaud you for
Yeah.
that. I celebrate you for that because that's you, and that's who you, and you've achieved a lot. And we should not undermine your anybody's achievement, and we won't undermine your achievement at all. So, can you tell us why? Tell us, start from your first initial journey. Why? Why? Because you do deal things with the space industry in some ways. Please explain on that, please.
Yeah, of course. Well, I've loved space since I was a child, and when I decided for my graduation in my undergrad course in Brazil, we didn't have any specific kind of undergrad related to space. I decided to go on computer science, and after I went to a master's degree and after a PhD at the National Institute for Space Research, focusing on uh, satellite applications and this kind of stuff. And for some many years, I worked as a professor in the university in the computer science course.
Okay.
But some years ago, I decided to be a public servant. And in Brazil, you have a kind of contest to get into the public service. And so I began to work for the National Institute for Space Research as a technologist. Technologist is a career in the Ministry of Science of Technology and Technology in Brazil, and they have lots of research institutes, and this is a career inside the government. So began to work there, and as a technologist, as I said, but I don't know what happened. They needed someone working in the strategic planning, and they invited me and accepted. And I thought, wow, this is interesting as well because I can understand more about the institution. I can understand more about everything it's done here. And after 1 or 2 years, they invited me to work in the International Cooperation Office, and I love it more because I thought that it was very important to have someone that knew how things happen when you are developing, when you are in this environment,
Mm-hmm.
in a position that go more for the policy of the institution. But I think
Yeah.
you can really understand what's needed and what is necessary for you to get a better, better agreements and better conditions for people who are working in the development, for instance. And after that, I decided to pursue an undergrad in international relations as well, which I did at London School of Economics. And since then, there's, I think, 10 years now, I've been working with international cooperation, but in the technological side and mainly with space. Now I work for the ministry, but I still focus very much on space cooperation and the space fields, but also in other kinds of technological fields.
Wow, impressive, very impressive. But I just want to go back slightly. You mentioned about for you to work in government type of institution, it's a contest. Why is it a contest?
Yeah, because if you want to get into public service in
Yeah,
Brazil,
yeah.
you have this a contest for the position. So you need to apply for it, and if
Oh,
you
I see
pass,
what you meant.
you have
Right. Okay.
you have the position.
Okay.
So I was working in the private sector before as a professor at the university, and then I became a public servant, and nowadays I'm a public servant.
Wow. Thank you so much for explaining that because I wasn't sure how it works, but it's always
Yeah,
good because when you we because it's about the public not understanding what we do and what the process is. So there may be people in Brazil who may look at you and say, "Well, I like to be where Adriana is, and I like to do what she's done. I like to see what the process is." So it's always good to have an understanding, at least some indication as what is expected for you to go through that process itself. And so thank you very much for that. So within what you do right now, you do lots of policy making and strategic planning. So can you just expand on that, please? Because again, you've done a lot because you were before in the private sector, you were a lecturer, you're a professor, and now you're in the government. Are you looking to go for the prime minister or something?
no, I'm not a politician.
Ah, yeah, okay. So we all say, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah. So please,
please go.
yeah. So please explain what does your current role entail? Because I know you have to be involved with the policy side of things. You also have to be involved with the strategic side of things, where your field is concerned. Because again, we are relating to STEM. So please explain on that.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, we normally, when you work in a government position in the international relations office, you are going to be analyzing lots of proposals that you receive from other countries for cooperation in the technological field or in science, for instance. And you are going to look as well for opportunities for your country to be partners with other countries or with international organizations in the same way. So that's mainly what I do today. And you also normally you participating in lots of international events and meetings, and so you try to project your country's interests
Interest, okay.
in the field, and you try to get partnerships for, because there are some areas that it's really important for you to have partnerships, otherwise it's kind of complicated. You know that in technology and science sometimes, and especially with data, there are some areas that you need, data from lots of countries.
Yeah.
And so as if you have broad corporations, interesting corporations, of course, it's going to be easier for you, for your country to achieve its interests. So it's basically what I do today.
Wow, I'm so impressed. But it's quite interesting because you're very busy, you're very clued on, you're very involved in so many different things. How do you get that work-life balance? Because this is so important because women have to do multitask in so many different ways. They've got to deal with their family, they've got to do work, they've got to do just looking after themselves. And sometimes we miss out self in order to make sure everybody else is okay. So how do you get that work-life balance?
Well, I would say that's quite difficult sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a challenge, but I think it can be done because, it's somehow your partner, and your children, if you have, they will understand if you explain that you have a career, and that's important for you, because I
Yeah.
think this is the main thing. If you have a clear conversation and an honest conversation, they will understand that you have your responsibilities, you have your goals and things that you want to do, and they will respect that. And I think, of course, sometimes when you are home, you kind of it's too busy, it's too much. But I think you need to ask for help and ask for them to help you as well. Um, I think it's hard for women. I think it's harder than for men, I would say. But I think it's possible and it is feasible. Although sometimes a little bit difficult, but it's worth it, I believe.
I 100% agree with you. And I think in a way what you're saying is that it's about communication, it's about transparency, and it's about that support network around you as well, which enables you to achieve what you want to do. And knowing that it's an important role for you means that you have that support network will you have to come to a compromise or an agreement which allows that everything to work together for the good. Of course, sometimes you have to be very selfish as well, because again, if you see your vision and you're very visionary as the way you want to go, and and you can see that in your steps that you've taken. So, this is so important because again, it's about ensuring that we as women, we talk about diversity, we talk about accessibility, we talk about inclusion. Sometimes it's not always that fair playing field for that to happen, because it's either you give up something in order to gain this thing, and that means it's that shift. But you talked about the support around you, which enables you to do that, and also the transparency in your communication, which means that everyone's aware and that everyone understands, and even though they may not completely agree, but they will still support you in order to achieve your goals. So thank you for that. In Brazil, how does it work in relation to, because you've done really well, and your journey shows that everything things are possible. How did you tell us how you got to this place? Because women, I mean, I'm sure there are women in Brazil that are in similar roles or looking to achieve what you do. So what did you do? How did you make it happen for you?
Well, this is a quite interesting question because I have to say that I fight every day for everything,
Yeah.
and like every woman in the I think in the rest of the world, it's
Mm,
very difficult for women. It's
mm,
different, and you have to fight every day to prove that you are capable. Sometimes it's tiring, sometimes it's really frustrating.
yeah.
I've passed during my life for lots of very difficult situations regarding
Mm,
this, and I thought about giving up so many times.
wow.
But the other day, I love to learn. I love to study. I love the things that I do. So I just moved on and began again. So I think
Yeah.
this is important to say because sometimes people think that it's a very um, easy path, or oh, it's but it can be bumpy sometimes, can
Yeah.
be very difficult and very hard.
Yeah.
And but um, again, I think it's worth it, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, especially in the sector that I work with, like for instance in space, which is women are something novel in this field,
I was gonna say,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's still not too much valued, I would say. And you have to fight every day, and you always. It happened to me that not be appointed to a position, for instance, because I was a woman. It happened, and I had, to move forward. And I think it's going to happen again. I'm not that positive, but it's not. I think the important thing is to understand that these things cannot. They affect you, but they cannot um, hurt you in a way that you would just give up, because you're giving up your own dreams, your own
Yeah,
goals. So
yeah.
you need to continue.
Continue. You have to fight. You're right. You have to really go beyond what you see, because you're going to have people who naysayers who's going to try hinder you. But I mean, I guess in a way, what you're saying is you have to have that vision and let that vision be your focus. No matter what, or the around what's going on around you, just your focus should be there. You'll get there eventually. And you're just saying that, yeah, you've been through it, you know what, but you had to fight, and you're look at you today. So I applaud you. I celebrate, because I think you're an amazing lady. I love what you're doing. But you're also mentoring as well, aren't you? You're so please tell us more about it, because your path, it makes such a huge difference to other people's lives. So tell us more about that, please.
Well, yeah, you were right. Now I'm participating in the mentorship program at UNOOSA, at the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. It's a voluntary basis program. That's important to say. And I'm really, looking forward to begin, because
Okay.
I like very much this kind of a role. When I was a professor at university, what I liked and loved the most was supervision. So I like it very much to see and to be able to see how the students, they were in the beginning of the year, and then after, during the sessions and the supervision sessions, they were able to get a very nice um, you know dissertation or whatever. So I think this is really important to me. It's going to be interesting and very important for me as well. And I see this is an opportunity for the mentees, but for the mentors as well,
Of
to
course,
to
yeah.
engage with
Yeah.
young people, and to know what they are looking for, to
Mm,
understand what are their needs.
yeah.
Because also, like for me, as I said, if I am pursuing more, if I'm in a more policy role, I can understand better what is needed
Needed, of
when
course.
you are beginning, for instance, in a career, and try to help with that. I'm not sure that changed too much when I was in their positions,
Mm,
but I think it changed. So it's important to understand, especially what changed in the environment, in what changed for them, how they are
yeah.
viewing now this career in especially in the space sector. So I'm very, I think, thankful for being invited and being to be a mentor in this program. And I'm sure it's going to be a very nice journey for both mentees and also for mentors.
Do you know, you're so right. I think in a way, because so the thing is, you have so much to offer, and because of your journey, it means that you understand. I think with mentees, where they aspire to be like you, and what you're also saying, because you're dealing with the policymakers, you'll be able to pick up on things that needs to be changed, because you're in that right position that allows you to have influence of some sort to bring those changes about, or bring those policies that will enable that change for the next generation coming behind you. So, I'm seriously, when you start, I'm sure you're going to be adding so much value to that. I didn't realize, I thought you already started it, but it's great to see that, again, that's what we all do. We find ways to give back, because you've been in your journey and you understand your experiences, both good and bad, makes who you are and make you a better person as well. Do you know, I just thought about it. You said you were a professor for what? What were you teaching? Was it still technology or was it space?
Yes, it
Oh,
was
okay.
in the computer science
Uh,
engineering course. It was like
okay.
yeah, software engineering, database systems, this kind of stuff.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah.
a long time ago,
Yeah,
when I was when I was
yeah.
at university.
Mm,
So that's my main field. So I've spent many years as a professor at the university,
yeah,
mainly teaching this kind of disciplines,
yeah.
mainly software engineering, for instance.
Indeed. Well, thank you for sharing that because I would, because you mentioned a couple of times, I thought it'd be rude not to ask you what exactly, but
Yeah.
yes, of course, it would be in your background itself. Do you know then, bringing it fast forward, in relation to Brazil and the education system and the work environment, how is it for women, especially in our field? Because it's all about STEM. We want to make it more inclusive. We want to make it more diverse and more accessible. So, based on your experience, based on what you see, both as a professor, but both and now in the government environment, um, are there still issues where women are concerned in
Yeah, of course. I was lucky enough to be on a family where I was, supported to go forward and to study, for instance. But
Mm,
it's not the case for many girls.
mm,
And although I understand that, for example, the selection process can be fair, it doesn't mean that it's fair for girls because sometimes they can't get to the selection process because they weren't able to study when they were children. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
what is important is to begin since they're children, and sometimes people say that, oh no, but we our process of selection is fair enough. We don't, we are not biased against gender, but they don't realize that they have like 10 candidates and two are women and then eight are men because uh, simply the girls couldn't get to that point,
Mm,
to be there participating in the selection
yeah,
process.
yeah.
So I think it's still difficult,
Mm,
and sometimes it's complicated,
mm,
especially if you decide to work in an environment that is not common.
mm,
um, so I think it depends of the environment, depends of the field, but normally I would say that it's still difficult, and you need to, like I said, you need to fight every day for what you want.
wow,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you just give up.
Yeah, so true, so true. It's still crazy, isn't it? We're still talking about the same thing that we are trying to, we're saying it's diverse, it's this and that, but we are actually in reality, what really translates to reality is completely different for so many people in different parts of the world. And you're saying that's the same thing in Brazil. So now putting that proactive hat on, what would you do? What would you like? Because again, we need to, the great thing is that you're in that environment where the government is concerned, where policies are concerned, and because you also understand the dynamics of what's going on in Brazil, but also the education system as well, but also families, all of that sort of thing. So what would you recommend? You can choose. How can we change that? Because we're not here to complain. What we're here to do is to bring solutions, practical solutions that can be picked up by the government, by the industry, by the education system, by the community as a whole. So tell us, please share your views on that.
Well, I think we can begin doing something that is not that big, that it is small, it can be achievable by anyone, or at least, for example, to any woman. If you just invite other women to be participating, for instance, in panels, if you recommend books that are written by women, if you do this kind of stuff, because normally you don't see many women participating in technological, for instance, panels, or you don't see them at lectures. So if you have the chance to do that, I think you are doing great, because I think these small actions, they matter, because together they can build on a more, you would say, sustainable action. And I think they can, other girls can see that women are participating in some initiatives that they aren't. For instance, um, when you talk about even, I would say, politicians, normally if you're going to give examples, you're going to put a list of men politicians.
True.
Well,
Yes.
just choose one,
Yeah.
at least, add one woman there, just for people to know that there is someone there. Because if girls, they don't see this person, they don't see a woman there, they think that that kind of thing is not for them. So I think small actions, that they matter. So even though you cannot sometimes influence too much in policies in a high level, for example, in the government, if you cannot do that, there are things that you can do as a person, as an individual. And I think this is really important as well.
So true. Little steps builds up to bigger steps and bigger, and then also it's about the collective view as well. And also we need men supporters as well, because again, you mentioned about if it was in the government or the politics or people, who do you know? Mostly it's been more men than women that people will call. And unless you can relate to somebody, it's very hard to see yourself in that position. And that's why I celebrate. That's why I applaud you, because you are a role model. You are an amazing person, and you're a female. And I'm going to shout that out loud, that you're a female and we're
Thank
proud
you.
of you, because you're showing that, yes, you are. You're not saying that it's been a straightforward journey for you. You've had to fight, but look at you now. Look at, and you are in that position that can make a difference. And I want to applaud you for doing that. And it's so important. You made it about the little actions. Let us get us, for us to be diverse. We need to bring the more women into STEM environments, like panels in those areas that are not normally associated, where we see more women in there. So let us show Taylor, but also women in some ways also put themselves out there as well. They have to want it, because sometimes you can offer somebody something and they may say, oh, but I'm not so comfortable doing that. So we need to change that dynamics. It's a two-way thing. It's for us to win, or for them to win, then they have to put themselves out in that place, to allow them to put themselves in that place, for them to be visible. Because visibility means that young girls coming up will say, hold on, look at Adriana. I want to be like her. Look at her. I want to be like her. Look what she's achieved. And your journey. You talked about, for you to work in the government, you had to be, it's a contest. And the fact that you stayed and you were, it was stable, but you put yourself out there so that people see your good work at the same time, means they are now impressed with you enough to promote you and open new doors and new opportunities for you. So, I'm so impressed. I'm so grateful that you've come on my platform. I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation. And I thank you for your word of knowledge, word of wisdom as well that you've shared. Little steps makes things a huge difference. And it's about just things that everybody can do. It's about getting us to start thinking out of the box and not think this is the only way to do something, but we can do it in different ways to achieve the same goals that we want. Because we want our industry to be more inclusive, more accessible, and more diverse. And little steps like that can make that huge big difference in someone's life. So we want to do that. So thank you so much. I can talk with you. I can talk about everything, but we want to make it concise. We want the public to hear you, want to see your journey, and want to celebrate you, because that's why we do this. We celebrate you. We celebrate what you've achieved, and we want to send messages out there that if you can do it, I can do it too. So anybody can look at you. we're not saying straight is easy, but we're saying if you want it, then put your eyes where you want to go. Fix your eyes so that goal that you've set for yourself. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So
I appreciate it as well. Thank you very much for inviting me again.
Oh,
it was a
it's my
pleasure to be
pleasure.
here with you.
My pleasure that you would decide to come on my platform. Thank you so much. So again, this is Margaret Ajibola, the STEM Positive Disruptor, and I have my special guest, amazing conversation, ADRIANA THOMÉ. So yes, please listen to our podcast and share the message with everyone as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.